There's a jar of something in the mountain home that's worth more to these families than almost anything else they own. It isn't money. It isn't gold, though they call it exactly that, liquid gold. It's honey, pure and simple. And to the families who live high in the mountains, that jar of honey isn't a sweet treat to spread on toast and forget about. It's medicine. It's the first thing they reach for when someone falls ill, the remedy they trust before any pill, a healing gift from their own bees that they have used in the very same ways for 1,000 years and more. Today I'm going to show you the honey remedies these mountain folks swear by, what they use it for, why they trust it so deeply, exactly how they use it, how to choose the right honey, and how you could keep a little of this liquid gold as your own simple, natural remedy at home. And stay with me right to the very end, because I'm going to share something about honey that will genuinely astonish you, a fact so remarkable that it makes honey unlike any other food on the entire planet, and it's the very reason these families have always treasured it like gold. But let's start at the beginning. Now, before we go a single step further, let me be completely honest and straight with you, because you deserve that and because it matters more than anything. Honey is a wonderful, traditional, time-trusted remedy, but it is not a magic cure, and I will never tell you that it is. What I'm sharing with you here is old folk wisdom, what the mountain people believe, what they've trusted for countless generations, and how they use it. And for anything that genuinely worries you about your health, you always see a real doctor. And there's one more thing I must say right up front, because it truly is a matter of safety. Never, ever give honey to a baby under 1 year old. A baby's body can't yet handle something that's naturally in raw honey, and it can make an infant very seriously ill. For everyone over the age of 1, honey is the gentle old remedy we're about to explore, but for the littlest ones, never. I'd rather tell you that plainly than have you not know it. Now, with that said, if you've ever felt that our grandparents understood something real about healing with simple, natural things that we've carelessly forgotten, then subscribe and stay right here with me, because rescuing this kind of old wisdom honestly and safely is exactly what this channel is for. Now, let's talk about that liquid gold. But first, just think about how far back this goes, because it's part of why the mountain folk trust it so deeply. Honey is very likely the oldest medicine known to humankind. The ancient Egyptians used it on wounds and treasured it so highly they buried it with their kings. The healers of ancient Greece and Rome and the wise folk of the East all reached for honey again and again for the throat, the gut, the skin, and the wounds of soldiers. For thousands of years, in nearly every culture on Earth, honey was one of the most precious healing substances a family could own. And in the mountains, where the bees thrive on wildflowers and the nearest doctor is a hard day's journey away, that ancient trust never faded. When a mountain grandmother reaches for her jar of honey, she's doing exactly what countless generations before her did, all the way back to the very dawn of human healing. That's not a small thing. That's one of the longest unbroken chains of wisdom we have, passed from hand to hand, mother to child, for as long as there have been people and bees. Now let's see exactly what they do with it. The first thing mountain families reach for honey to treat, and the one nearly everyone knows in their bones, is a sore throat and a cough. When the cold creeps in and a throat turns raw and scratchy, or a cough won't settle at night, the mountain folk don't reach for a bottle from a shelf. They reach for a spoon of honey, and here's why they trust it so deeply. Honey is thick and soothing, and it coats a raw, irritated throat with a smooth, calming layer that eases the soreness and quiets the urge to cough. This is one of the old remedies that even modern science has come to respect. A simple spoon of honey is widely trusted by grandmothers and doctors alike as one of the gentlest and most effective ways there is to soothe a cough and a sore throat, especially at night. The mountain families take it in a few simple ways. They swallow a spoonful of honey on its own, slowly, letting it coat the throat. They stir it into a cup of warm water or herbal tea, often with a squeeze of lemon, and sip it down. They mix it with warm water and a little lemon as a soothing drink before bed. Here's how you use it. For a scratchy throat or a nagging cough, take a teaspoon of honey straight, or stir it into warm, not boiling water or tea with a little lemon, and sip it slowly. It coats, it soothes, and it comforts. And here's a tip the old folk know well. The honey works best when it's allowed to do its slow coating work, so they take it last thing, after the warm drink. and let it linger, and a spoonful taken right before bed is the old answer to the cough that always seems to come on worst at night when you're trying to sleep. They'll give it to a child over the age of 1 for a nighttime cough just the same way, and it soothes the little ones beautifully. One important note on the heat, though: they never stir honey into boiling hot water, only warm, because too much heat is thought to harm its goodness. Remember, too, never for the baby under 1. But the second use is the one the mountain folk rely on to keep the sickness away in the first place. The second thing they use honey for is as a daily tonic to keep strong and well through the long, hard winter. The mountain families believe, as people have believed for thousands of years, that a daily spoon of good honey helps keep the body strong and helps fight off the coughs and colds of the cold season. So through the winter, many of them take a spoonful every day, often combined with other trusted remedies to make it even more powerful. They stir honey together with crushed raw garlic, letting it sit, and take a spoonful at the first sign of a cold. 2 old remedies working together, the garlic's bite softened by the honey's sweetness. They mix honey with grated fresh ginger and warm water for a warming drink that they believe guards against the chill and settles the stomach. They combine honey and lemon in warm water as a daily morning tonic. Now, in honesty, this is traditional wisdom rather than proven cure, but it's gentle, it's pleasant, and it's been trusted for a very long time. Here's how you might use it. A daily spoonful of honey through the cold months, on its own or stirred into warm water with lemon, or mixed with a little grated ginger for a warming drink. Some keep a jar of honey with crushed garlic steeping in it, ready for the first sign of a sniffle. Let me give you that honey and garlic jar the way the old folk make it, because it's a wonderful thing to have ready in the cupboard when the cold season comes. They peel a good handful of garlic cloves, crush them lightly, drop them into a clean jar, and pour raw honey over the top until they're completely covered. They seal it and let it sit for a week or more, and as it steeps, the honey draws out the garlic and softens its fierce bite into something almost mellow and sweet. Then, at the very first scratch of a cold, they take a spoonful of the honey or a softened clove straight from the jar. 2 of the oldest remedies on earth working together in one jar. Simple, soothing, and a pleasant old habit for the winter. The old folks start it before the cold season even arrives, so the jar is ready and waiting on the shelf the moment the first chill comes, because the wise ones always prepare for winter long before it knocks at the door. But the third use is one the hard-working mountain folk depend on every single day. The third thing they use honey for is pure, natural energy and stamina for a long, hard day of work. Life in the mountains is physical and demanding. There are fields to tend, animals to care for, firewood to carry up steep paths, and the body needs good fuel for all of it. The mountain families have always known that honey is one of the finest natural energy foods there is, because the body takes in its natural sugars quickly and easily, turning them straight into ready energy. So they take a spoonful of honey before heading out to a hard morning's work, or spread it thick on a piece of bread to carry them through. They give it to children for energy, and to anyone who's weak, tired, or recovering and needs building back up. It's a clean, natural, simple fuel, no different in spirit from the energy products sold today, but pure and straight from the hive. Here's how you use it. A spoonful of honey, or honey spread on good bread, before physical work or exercise gives you a quick, natural lift of energy. It's a far better, more wholesome pick-me-up than the sugary processed snacks we so often reach for. And here's a tip from the old ways. On a long, hard day, they stir a spoonful of honey into a flask of water and sip it as they work. It keeps them going and helps them stay refreshed at the same time. An old, natural version of the sports drinks sold today, but pure and simple. They also feed honey to anyone weak after an illness, to build their strength back up gently, because it's easy on a tired body and gives quick, gentle nourishment. The mountain folk have powered their hardest days on it for 1,000 years, and they hand a spoonful to a tired child the same way their own grandparents once did for them. But the fourth use happens at the other end of the day, when it's time to rest. The fourth thing the mountain families use honey for is to help them sleep soundly and restfully. After a long, hard day, good rest is precious, and the old folk have long believed that a little honey before bed helps the body settle and sleep deeply through the night. So a spoonful of honey, on its own or stirred into a cup of warm milk or herbal tea, is a gentle, time-honored bedtime ritual in the mountain home, soothing, comforting. and calming at the close of the day. Whether it's the warmth of the drink, the comfort of the ritual, or the honey itself, generations have found that it helps ease them gently into a good night's sleep. Here's how you use it. A teaspoon of honey before bed, taken on its own or stirred into a cup of warm milk or a calming herbal tea, makes a soothing bedtime ritual. It's a gentle, pleasant old habit to wind down the day. The old folk pair it especially with warm milk, an old, comforting combination that soothed people to sleep for generations. The warmth, the sweetness, and the quiet ritual together telling the body that the long day's work is finally done and it's time to rest. But the fifth use isn't for the inside of the body at all, it's for the outside. The fifth thing they use honey for is to soothe and care for the skin, for dry, cracked, chapped, and weathered skin, which is no small thing for people who live their whole lives out in the harsh mountain wind, sun, and cold. Honey has a wonderful natural quality. It draws in and holds moisture, which makes it a beautiful natural balm for dry skin and chapped lips. The mountain folk dab a little honey onto cracked, weathered hands, onto chapped lips, onto dry patches of skin to soften and soothe them. They use it on the face as a simple, natural treatment to soften and clean the skin. It's their free, natural skin salve, straight from the hive. Here's how you use it. Dab a little honey onto chapped lips, dry, rough hands, or weathered patches of skin. Leave it a while to soften and soothe, then rinse. For the face, a thin layer left on for a few minutes and rinsed off is an old, gentle, natural treatment. The old folk also reach for a little honey to soothe a minor sunburn or a patch of skin that's chapped raw by the wind and cold, because that same moisture-drawing, soothing quality calms and comforts irritated skin. Some even smooth a little into dry, brittle hair, simple, soothing, and far purer than many things you'd buy. But the sixth use settles one of the most common complaints there is. The sixth thing the mountain families use honey for is to soothe and settle the stomach and aid digestion. After a heavy meal or when the belly feels uneasy or sour, the old folk reach for honey often stirred into warm water, sometimes with a little lemon or a touch of ginger or a sprinkle of cinnamon. They believe it gently calms the stomach, eases that heavy, bloated, uncomfortable feeling, and helps the body digest a big meal. A warm cup of honey water first thing in the morning is, to many mountain families, the gentlest possible way to wake up the body and get everything moving and working well for the day ahead. And when a child or an elder has an upset, unsettled stomach, a little honey in warm water is one of the first and kindest comforts they offer. Now, as always, this is the old traditional wisdom: for any stomach trouble that's severe or that won't go away, you see a doctor. But as a gentle, everyday comfort, it's been trusted for as long as anyone can remember. Here's how you use it. Stir a teaspoon of honey into a cup of warm water, add a little lemon, ginger, or cinnamon if you like, and sip it slowly after a heavy meal or first thing in the morning to settle and wake the stomach gently. Soothing, simple, and pleasant. Many of the old folk make that warm honey water their very first act of the morning, before anything else, a gentle way of telling the body the day has begun and easing it awake from the inside. It's a small, calm ritual, but it's one that started countless mountain mornings for generations. But the seventh use is one of the very oldest and most remarkable of them all. The seventh thing they use honey for, and this one is genuinely remarkable, is to help treat minor wounds, cuts, scrapes, and burns. This is one of the very oldest uses of honey known to humankind, going back thousands of years across nearly every culture on Earth. And here's the reason behind it. Honey has real, natural antibacterial properties. It creates conditions where the bacteria that cause infection struggle to survive, and it keeps a wound moist and protected while it heals. The mountain folk, living far from any doctor, have always reached for honey to clean and dress a minor cut, scrape, or small burn, spreading a little over the wound and covering it. Now, let me be very honest and careful with you here, because this matters. For a small, minor scrape or cut, this is a traditional remedy that's been trusted for millennia, but for any wound that's deep, serious, badly infected, or won't heal, you see a doctor every time, no question. And remember, this is for minor things only. With that said, it's a genuinely fascinating piece of old wisdom that the modern world is actually rediscovering. Here's how the old folk use it. A little honey spread over a cleaned minor cut, scrape, or small burn, then covered, to soothe and protect it as it heals. They've trusted it especially for small kitchen burns and scrapes, the everyday little hurts of a working life far from any pharmacy. But for anything serious, the doctor always. But now, at last, we come to the most astonishing thing about honey of all, the thing I promised you at the very start. Here is the eighth and final wonder of honey, and it is the real reason the mountain families treasure it like gold. Honey is the one food on earth that never, ever spoils. Let that sink in for a moment, because it's almost unbelievable and it's completely true. A jar of honey sealed and kept will last not for months, not for years, but for centuries, even longer. Archaeologists exploring ancient tombs thousands of years old have found jars of honey still perfectly good, still edible after all that unimaginable time. No other food on earth can do that. And the reason is the very same reason honey heals. It's naturally so low in moisture and so resistant to bacteria that nothing can grow in it and spoil it. It simply lasts and lasts and lasts forever. Now think about what that means to a mountain family facing a long, uncertain winter. Honey isn't just a remedy, it's the ultimate stored food, a source of energy and sweetness and medicine that will never go bad, that they can keep year after year as their deepest reserve. And they use that magical lasting quality to preserve other foods too. They pack fruit down into honey and sealed away in it. The fruit keeps for a very long time, taking on the sweetness as it waits. A jar of fruit in honey is a little taste of summer saved for the dead of winter. They preserve nuts, even certain herbs, the same way, sealed in honey's amber keeping. Honey is all at once their medicine cabinet, their energy store, their food that outlives the seasons, and the very thing that helps preserve their other food all in one humble jar from their own bees. That right there is why they call it liquid gold, and why they treasure it above almost anything else they own. It heals them, it feeds them, it gives them strength, and it never, ever lets them down. And there's a quiet comfort in that for a family far from any town. Come what may, that jar will still be good. A hard year can't spoil it, a long winter can't touch it. It simply waits, golden and ready, for whenever it's needed. Here's the lesson for you. A good jar of raw honey, sealed and kept in your cupboard, is a remedy and a food that will quite literally outlast you. It is the one thing in your kitchen that time cannot touch. Now, one important practical word, because it makes all the difference. Not all honey is the same. The mountain families use raw, natural honey, straight from the hive, and that's the honey that holds all this goodness. A great deal of the honey on store shelves today is heavily processed, heated, and filtered until much of its natural value is stripped away or even watered down with syrup. So if you want the real liquid gold, the kind the old folk trust, look for raw, unprocessed honey, the cloudier, more natural-looking kind, ideally local, from a beekeeper or a farmer's market if you can. And don't be alarmed when your good raw honey turns thick, cloudy, or grainy over time, or sets solid in the jar. That's called crystallizing, and it's a sign that it's real. Natural honey, not a fault at all. To bring it back to liquid, you just stand the jar in a bowl of warm water for a while, gently, never boiling it. Stored, sealed in your cupboard, away from too much heat, a good jar of raw honey will keep, as we'll see in a moment, for longer than you can imagine. Now, let's bring it all together. And it isn't only the honey, either. For the mountain family, the whole hive is a treasure chest. The beeswax becomes candles to light the long winter nights, and a base for salves and balms rubbed into sore joints and dry skin. The sticky resin the bees make to seal their hive, called propolis, is another old remedy the mountain folk reach for, dabbed on a sore spot in the mouth or a small wound, trusted for the very same protective qualities as the honey itself. Nothing the bees give is ever wasted. The family tends the bees give their gold, and every last part of it is put to good and grateful use. Honey for healing and food, wax for light and salve, the whole of it woven right into the life of the home. That's the mountain way through and through. A partnership with nature where nothing is taken for granted and nothing is thrown away. So let's bring it all together, because when you look at everything the mountain families do with their honey, you understand at last why they call it liquid gold. It soothes a sore throat and quiets a cough. It's their daily tonic against the sickness of winter. It fuels their hardest days with clean, natural energy. It eases them into restful sleep at night. It softens and soothes their weathered skin. It settles an uneasy stomach and aids the digestion. It helps heal their minor cuts and scrapes and burns. And above all, it's the one food on earth that never spoils: a remedy, an energy store, and a lasting food all in one that they can keep forever. All of that from a single jar, given freely by their bees. No wonder they treasure it. And here's the thing that really stays with me. The mountain families don't reach for honey because they're poor and have nothing better. They reach for it because they understand something we've nearly forgotten: that some of the best, gentlest, most reliable remedies and foods don't come from a factory or a pharmacy, but from nature itself, simple and whole and close to hand. They keep their jar of liquid gold not as a treat, but as a treasure, a healer, a strengthener, a comfort, and a reserve that will never fail them. There's something else in it, too, something quieter, a deep respect for the bees that make it and for the wildflowers the bees gather it from. To the mountain family, that jar of honey is the whole mountain summer captured and kept: the flowers, the sunshine, the warm days, all sealed away in gold to be opened in the depths of winter. They look at a jar of honey and they see medicine, energy, comfort, and security all in one. We look at the very same jar and we see something sweet to put on our toast and forget about. And the only real difference between us and them is knowledge, the old, simple, practical kind that everyone used to have and that we let slip quietly away in a single generation. But the wonderful thing is, it's all still here, waiting for you. So the next time you reach for the honey, remember it's far more than a sweetener. Keep a good jar of raw honey in your cupboard for the scratchy throat, the bedtime drink, the hard day's energy, the uneasy stomach, the chapped hands, and the deep peace of mind that comes from having a remedy and a food that will never, ever go bad. Try just one of these old ways this week: a spoonful in warm water with lemon for a scratchy throat, a little stirred into warm milk before bed, or a dab on dry, cracked hands. Use it the gentle old way the mountain folk do, and you'll start to see that humble jar the way they do, not as a treat, but as a treasure. Just remember the two honest rules: never for the baby under one, and always the doctor for anything serious. Beyond that, enjoy your little jar of liquid gold, the way these families have for 1,000 years and more. Now I'd love to hear from you. Did your own family treasure honey as a remedy? Did your mother or grandmother give you honey for a cough or a spoonful before bed, or use it on a scrape? What old natural remedy did your family swear by? Tell me down in the comments and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I read every single one, and there's nothing I love more than hearing these old traditions and knowing this wisdom is still alive in good people like you. And if you'd like to keep learning the old mountain ways, how they keep food fresh for a year with no fridge, how they heat their homes for almost nothing, and so many more things the modern world threw away, then stay right here with me by the fire. There's so much more to share. Until next time, take good care of yourself, take good care of the ones you love, and never let the old wisdom be lost. And remember, for anything that truly concerns your health, always speak with your doctor first. Keep your jar of liquid gold close, and a little piece of these old ways stays alive in your own home.